Hey, welcome to Think Business Exclusives. Looking forward to having Douglas Sills on the show today. Douglas, it's great to see you. It's been a long, long time. And, one of the, I'm going to talk about when I texted you, but first I want to talk about when I first met you. I met you in business. I was in commercial real estate. You are an actor and an entrepreneur, businessman. And I was selling some apartment buildings for your family. And this is now, we're talking probably 15, 16, 17 years ago. And one of the things that stuck with me always was when I first met you, you were telling me your dad, Archie, who was so beloved here in the Detroit community. You were just telling me what kind of dad Archie was. And you were telling me how he really pushed you to pursue your passion. And, this segment, this piece of Think Business is about getting to the soul of business. And I think we're in a time in the world, more specifically today than we have been in some time, where people are trying to find the soul of where their soul is in alignment. And so I just want to kind of rewind before we talk about all your accolades and the Gilded Age series that you're in on HBO, and which is an incredible show. But let's rewind for a minute and talk about you and Archie.
Sure.
Right. And that and how he pushed you to kind of really just do what was in your soul and really follow your passion.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure I had the courage when I finished undergrad, where I took a wide range of courses. I wasn't really focused. I tried lots of different things that interested me. That was how I was encouraged to play that chapter in my education, especially at a place like University of Michigan, which has, such strong departments in so many places there. But when I left, I thought I would probably just apply to law school. I didn't have a strong sense of what I wanted to do, but I thought, after watching my dad, that law school would be a good background for anything, and most lawyers, or a high percentage of lawyers, don't end up practicing law anyway. So I just thought, maybe I'll run a restaurant, maybe I'll produce movies, maybe I'll produce plays, maybe I'll, I don't know, just, build sailboats. I just thought it would be a good background for anything and give me a lot of confidence. So he and I were taking a drive as the end of my undergraduate approached. And I was the last of 4 kids, sort of typical. Well, I shouldn't say typical. I don't know what typical is, but I think there's a lot of population that progressive Jewish suburban Michigan household. He wasn't a particularly mushy dad, watery emotional by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he was thoughtful and progressive in the way he looked at things. And we were taking a drive and talking, which is how he preferred to do important talks while he was driving. And he said, "So what do you think you're going to do?" And I said, "I don't know, Dad. I guess I'm not sure what's next. So I just figured I'd apply to law school and take it from there. And who knows who I'll meet there, and end up finding an idea to pursue." And he said, "Well, what about this acting thing?" And I said, "Well, I just don't know that I have the cojones for it, or the real courage to endure poverty and deprivation for years and years and years." And he said, "Well, I can certainly understand that, but why not try it? Why not just give it a shot? If you change your mind, you're 30 or 35, and you decide that's not working, I want to go to law school." He said, "Hopefully I'll be around and I'll give you a hand if you want to try that." And I was like, so I will say that was sort of permission. It wasn't so much pushed, but he gave me the permission, and he calmed my fears about the failure. Now, that's a real luxury to get. And I know a lot of my comrades in the business don't have that incredible luxury. but they were both really strong about the arts. They already had 3 kids. One of them was a doctor. One of them was in the film business. One of them was a dental hygienist. I wonder if Susie had gone back to law school by then. But anyway, and so he was great in that way. And I think in some ways, maybe the way a parent does from my current perspective, he was going to live out some of that pleasure in me pursuing it. So that was enough for me to sort of get off the law school horse, or I can't remember the exact sequence of events. I had taken the LSATs and was taking in applications, and I just decided to go ahead and I wasn't ready to go out into the acting world. I thought I would be more comfortable getting a graduate degree. It was sort of stupid. We all have the things that comfort us. And so for me, that was helpful. It was like, it was like a different gun in your holster.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I would enter the acting world with more confidence if I had an important graduate degree, not just any graduate degree, but I thought from Yale or Juilliard or something like that, that I would enter the world a little differently. So that's what I did. And, they were there and very, they weren't like pom-poms going to see my shows 100 times. That was not them. They were more laid back. They had their own lives that were very strong. They were not sort of stage parents in any way. Are your parents coming to see the show? I don't know. Probably not. Maybe once, and others are like, oh, my parents bought out the school for the show. I'm like, yeah, I don't think mine are going to come up. They made this trip to Michigan many times. And so, or wherever I was performing. So that was it. And she was very much in the same boat about that. They were both, they weren't theater mavens. We didn't take 100 trips to New York. It wasn't like that, but they sensed my eagerness and my interest in it. So I think that's what a lot of their peers would want. That success for them is being able to offer opportunities for their kids that they didn't have or didn't feel they could take advantage of. So for them, I think it was a real achievement to be able to say, go do this.
Yeah.
That's what all of this work is for. So that we've been doing. So go do it.
Yeah, I love that. I just was interviewing, thanks for sharing that. I was just interviewing someone who wrote a book called Speakeasy, connecting with every conversation. And what the book talks about and what we were talking about, his name is Lou Diamond, the book is Speakeasy, is a conversation can be very short, yet still very powerful. And so it just goes to show you, this car ride with your dad, the permission, he, transfers the energy of permission, and then boom, you can kind of, you take it and you run with it. I want to talk to you about what you said in reference to when you talked about, having the courage to be an actor. And, there was an article in 2008 in The Atlantic, and it was titled, "Is Google Making Us Stupid?" And what it talked about is that technology is actually rewiring our brains to take away, not to take away, but is taking away delayed gratification. And people are everything is moving towards, and this was in 2008, instant gratification. Yeah. Yeah. No worries.
Sorry. Hey, Cleo, hush. Come here. Get over here. Come on. Stay. You finished?
Yes.
Okay. Bye. Bye. Nice to meet you, Veronica. Sit. So sorry, John.
Yeah, no worries. All good. And it makes it good. It makes it real. So, and everything's about instant gratification. So you're talking about what kind of dog do you have?
Oh, she's a rescue mutt, mostly German Shepherd. A COVID rescue mutt.
Oh, nice. All right. So now everything is moving, I think in a very fast motion to instant gratification. And so somebody who is, choosing your field of acting. I think we've all heard the stories of, you said, I don't want to starve, or this and the other, or, the person who, has just really paid their dues of, 5, 10, 15 plus years to get their overnight, success and their break. Talk a little bit about the art of delayed gratification and what you have to do, the mindset of that.
It's such a different, things are so different now.
Yeah.
My business is so different now, where the opportunities are, how the media business has changed and what's available to young actors now, and how they get their talent out there. The whole system has just gone through an enormous eruption and transformation. So obviously, I think you described it perfectly. Some people, it happens immediately, and then there might be a huge lull. I mean, Marissa Tomei won the Oscar and then nothing. It's like the Oscar curse. So, the actor's life has been often described very different from a formerly traditional corporate life, where if you do your job, you can expect that there will be promotions, and you're not going to drop down 3 rungs unless there's some terrible thing that happens. But in acting, you can go from the heights to nothing, to unemployment. So you better find pleasure in the pursuit. That's it's in every ism that you study, whether it's Judaism or Buddhism or whatever.
Right.
You better enjoy the pursuit. It's the journey. So, but it wasn't so much for me the fear of starving. It was being powerless in society, because actors just have no status. We are the bottom rung of the ladder. Our rung is like underground. There's no lower, almost.
Right.
That's not true. And I knew I was a gay man, and this was 19 blah blah blah, and it just was not a good picture looking forward. So I really fell in love with the art of it, and once I found a little burst of joy, a little squishy place, when I started doing classical theater, and I thought, wow, this is exciting. You can go so deep. There's no end to how deep you can go into these plays, into these characters, into these movies, and really enjoy them and bring out something noble, a really important message. You talk about these classical plays, whether it's comedy or not, and there's such wonderful uplifting, inspiring, and difficult teaching moments that come through those pieces, that I just thought it as a real noble pursuit, and you just could never tire of it. And so I began my journey, and it had a lot of ups and downs, and I had so much good fortune. I mean, let's keep in mind, I'm a white male, and there was a lot of opportunity. But really significant notoriety came at 37. So, 15 years or 20 years after my first paid gig, which was in Southfield, Michigan, in a dinner theater, I was the lead in a Broadway show with my name, by the title. And I was 37, and people said, oh, this overnight sensation. And I had this interview with Charlie Rose, and Charlie said, this isn't overnight, is it? I mean, it's overnight for most people that are looking at you, but you've been doing this and I said, yeah, that's exactly right. But you work at it and work at it. I don't know that I could have handled that kind of success at an earlier age, and the burden and the difficulty, what that took to carry that show past difficult reviews, being a leader of a group, and what that took. And, there's a big element of leadership when you're the lead in a show, in terms of keeping the rest of the cast motivated to continue to do a great job, even in the face of difficult reviews. So a very fancy, important entrepreneur and hedge fund manager named Teddy Forsman came to me about halfway through the show, and he said, listen, Douglas, I'm thinking of buying this show and remounting it. I'm making some changes. I think I know what's wrong with it, but I'd like you to stay. Well, that was a huge, huge vote of confidence in what I had done. And I appreciated it. And that conversation was very interesting to talk to him about it and how he conducted himself, and that he would want to stick his hand in the theater business was crazy. And I just, we had a very interesting talk. And I said, Teddy, I'm honored, but I've done it. I've opened this show to great reviews for myself. What have I got left to prove?
Yeah.
I mean, you can just see the headlines. Sills should have quit while he was ahead. If I signed up with Teddy to do the show and reopen it again, and so he said, well, what would it take? And I said, well, what do you think it's going to take? Some money, significant dollars. And he was like, okay, I get it. So we came to a deal, and I stayed on. And so, but to answer your question, endurance, perseverance, all the things you heard as a boy when I was watching The Tonight Show, and Johnny Carson would interview these actors and say, is it worth it? And they would say no, or only if you can't do anything else. It's miserable. It's so hard. They give you all these warnings, which is, they struck fear in the heart of every young person. Now we have America's Got Talent and The Voice and The Factor, and everybody sees it online, and everybody says, I want to grab my brass ring. And there was a lot more opportunities for success between video games and web series, and you can shoot your own movie on an iPhone now. I mean, and so when I'm giving
really incredible
to young people, that's what I tell them. You got to have two avenues. You got to take auditions as they come to you from your agents, or whether you find them yourselves, but you've also got to be planning projects of your own that you can move forward. And it gives you, it grounds you. So you're not just waiting to be invited to a show.
Yeah. It is amazing. I mean, today you can have a web show, you can have a podcast, you can, like you said, film things on your phone. I mean, you can be building so many things. And who knows what the technology is going to look like in the next 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years, where it'll allow you to build even more. It's great.
Yeah. You'll have a robot, and you'll have a robot director, and you'll put the phone in the robot's hands, and it'll follow you around, and you'll have a steady cam behind. I mean, and all you have to do really is you have 10 or 15 great TikToks, and the networks and the streaming services are watching that, and then they invite you to be in a television show. I mean, it's
nuts today. I saw something. I just saw the headline of it. I didn't read it, but it said something to the effect of HBO Max is going to be doing more unscripted, versus scripted. I don't know if that's true or not. I didn't read the article, but it's just what the headline said. So not that you can,
unscripted is very inexpensive in a lot of ways, oftentimes, and it's a different enterprise. And again, like a lot of things, it seems to go through peaks and troughs in terms of popularity, but when it hits, whether it's Big Brother or Ice Road Truckers, or but unscripted stuff can be fascinating. And I mean, you see all these stars getting into the game show business. That's unscripted. And they want a piece. They know there's money there. So whether it's Steve Harvey doing Family Feud or Kelly Ripa doing her own new game show, they're all sort of using their talent. And how do I put this back in so I have a nest egg and I can make my own living? And unscripted is there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah. Family Feud is still good. It's been around for a long time. They haven't really changed it much. So let's talk about, pardon?
I said everything old is new again.
Yeah. So we're talking a little bit about unscripted. Let's talk about scripted. You're currently in the HBO original series, The Gilded Age.
Woohoo!
I mean, it's a great show. And when I reached out to you, I was telling you, I said, Douglas, my wife and I are watching, we're Yellowstone watchers, and we're watching the show 1883 which is the prequel to Yellowstone. At the same time, we're watching The Gilded Age, and they're both taking place at the exact same time. And it's almost impossible to comprehend that you have horse and buggies and people dying to get to Oregon, and then the way that people are living in the Gilded Age, and both based on true people, stories, times, etc. So
separated by what, 1,000 miles?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but in the same country. Right.
Yeah. So it's a great show. You play the chef. I don't want to really say too much.
Yeah, don't give anything away.
No. I'm not going to. But it was a great season 1. But talk about just what it's like to kind of transport yourself to then with eyes of today?
That's interesting. Well, you know, it's really nicely written, and that makes a big difference. The guy who wrote it, Julian Fellows, that a lot of people may have heard of because he wrote Downton Abbey, he was an actor. So he, you know, he loves history, obviously, and he loves to write good scenes for actors, and he's thought about it a great deal. He's not writing it because he likes history. He does like history, but he understands the components of drama and a good dramatic scene. So all the elements are there. If you're an actor and you understand how to break down a scene and what the components are to make a good scene, it's there for you. And that makes a big difference. So the stakes are high. It's easy to relate to. Yes, obviously a lot has changed historically, although especially I'm living in New York, and you can see the effect that these titans of business had so directly all around you in New York. Their homes are still, some of them are still here. Those guys that ran the railroads or the coal companies or the steel companies, and their wealth, which was just well, I shouldn't say that. I stopped myself, but we have that kind of wealth and power now in a lot of the people that have attained such big success. I mean, you look at people.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy Twitter for $44 a share. Yeah, maybe not.
Right.
I mean, it was a little more discriminating. It was all white men, right? But some of them were immigrants who attained those great successes. But as an actor in the show, it's just an incredible pleasure. First of all, I'm surrounded by other really talented actors. The show almost has a reputation that precedes it because the production team has hired so many well thought of theater actors that populate the whole show, particularly musical theater actors who are very well known and certainly well known to each other. So we have this camaraderie on the set, and we have this tremendous respect for one another, and everybody arrives on the set with their A game. And, you know, the fact that you want to be there for your co-star and be the best you can be, it makes a huge difference. It's playing tennis with the best. I mean, You're with the best of the best. And that's an incredible luxury. And to get this job during the pandemic when theater was shut down, I mean, so fortunate. We all just feel like, you know, we won the lottery.
Yeah.
And so we're thankful every day for the opportunity, and almost feel like we're enjoying the success on behalf of our brothers and sisters in the theater business who don't have the success. We just, you know, are enjoying it, and we know how lucky we are.
Right.
I'm perhaps what you would call more of a supporting player in that show. So I'm not called to work every day by any means. There's probably 6 to 10 roles that you would consider the leading roles, and they work, you know, they have to film much more. Our filming season is probably 6 to 8 months. We're in the middle of season 2 now. And I was fortunate enough to be asked into season 2. And so I moved from what we would call a recurring character into a regular character, which is more of a contractual designation, but it's a really, it's a big achievement for me.
Right.
I've never been a regular on a television show that got picked up. I have been a regular, but the show didn't make it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's
well, congratulations.
just,
Congratulations, Douglas.
oh
That's great.
I'm
Yeah.
so lucky.
Yeah.
I only wish my folks were around to enjoy it, but I'm figuring they are enjoying it. So
yeah, I think they are. Yeah. I believe in a higher power. I think
sure.
they're around for sure. Yeah. Well, I think it's you know, you really define, as we've talked about earlier, you know, delayed gratification, you know, as you just shared, you know, this is your first, you know, recurring role, and you've been in the business a long time. I mean, you know,
let's see. So 40 years before I had a really big hit on TV, 20 years before I had the lead on Broadway. And still, I feel really lucky, that opportunity met readiness.
Yeah.
Some people never have that nexus. They're ready, but they never get the shot. Or
Yeah.
when they got the shot, they weren't ready. So, and then to have the chance to take over my father's real estate business at 47 and really learn so much about him, and in turn, so myself, that
Yeah.
I didn't know. Not big reveals, but just learning about him through his partners in business, through his writings in the files. It's been a real, the second stage of my life has been every bit as exciting as the first.
Yeah. I remember being in a meeting with you and Susie, as you were saying, kind of uncovering files, was sharing something of your dad's opinion, and then sharing that she got the opinion because it was written in a sticky note in one of the files of one of the properties. And that is I know from my parents both have passed, and it's like anytime you find something that connects you, to something that they did,
Absolutely.
it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And so let's talk for a minute about, right, so the business of acting and then the business of real estate. You know, um, two different worlds, and maybe some would say two similar worlds, right? Because everyone in real estate is negotiating and holding their cards and playing playing different roles. So, what's one thing that you learned about your dad and the business once you started getting involved in it and taking it over?
I think his generosity. I had so many people come to me and tell me, your dad helped me get started. And there was no good business reason to do
Yeah.
it. So things that I might not be aware, where he would take risks for other people, or be generous for the sake of being generous because he could, or because he felt a little bit of, it's not exactly survivor's guilt, but I think he had a lot of friends that never attained the success that he found. And I think there was part of him, according to his friends, that I think didn't really know why he deserved it per se, and wanted to spread it around and help his friends, or help young business people who were getting going, giving them a start, saying, hey, be my accountant. Yeah, I'll give you my accounts for the next couple of years. You just go out on your own, leave that accounting business and start your own, and you can count on me, and
Yeah.
let's see what happens. So things like that. That was a big, wonderful message that I got a lot of, which was nice. And
I used to I got in the commercial real estate business in 2002. And one of the things that people used to say to me all the time, I specialized in selling apartment buildings, is it's too bad you never, got to meet, or Archie Sills, and Harold Coolish would say that to me, all the time, and always talk about, how what a great person your dad was. And I always love hearing stories like you just shared, and just about people that I didn't know, because it just gives you, it gives you hope, and to know that there is a legacy that lives on.
yeah, it has encouraged me to help young actors. It's encouraged me to give new tenants a chance. Somebody comes to me and says, I want to rent your store, but I can't afford to. And you say, you know what? And you get to know them a little bit, and you sit across from them, and maybe you say, ask the broker if you could meet them. Sometimes it's a little dicey to get
Right.
person, but yeah, and that's really important, I think, to, at least for me.
Yeah.
There's a whole discussion to be had about second generation when they take over, and what the priorities should be, and what changes are essential. I'm not him. I could never be him. I learned, you know, as an actor, I know how deep acting goes. I wouldn't want to pretend to be him.
Yeah.
Um, so, and what are your goals that you share with him? And then what do you want to do with the business going forward? And how are you going to conduct yourself? What would be different with second generation? I don't want to say wealth, but second generation resources or
Yeah.
opportunity. Um, and that's an interesting thing. And also, for me, the journey was, I had a very strong left brain right brain about art, artistic things, inspiration, and things that we would refer to as an artist brain. And while I think I always felt very strongly about math and logic, on the other side, I never really dug into it or had the opportunity. And I felt very much that the first year was really muscularizing the other side of my brain. And then subsequent years were about creating pathways across. So I didn't have to go outside my artist brain and go around to the other side to do the real estate and literally, split personality, that to unify or reconcile those two halves so that both were involved in all the decisions.
Yeah.
And that's been a very gratifying journey.
That's cool. Well, I had a blast working with you and Susie and Claudia.
You were really helpful, and you have just a unique, wonderful spirit. I'm sure your audience knows that. But in our business, in the real estate business, it's there aren't too many Jon Dwoskins. There aren't too many people that have your spirit, but also your personality, your spirituality. I think you were a very unique player in that world, and I think it's probably what drew so many people to you and was responsible partially for your success.
Well, I appreciate that, Douglas. Thank you very much. All right, you ready for a quick speed round?
What's a speed round?
You'll see.
Okay.
A book that's had the biggest impact on you.
Stanislavski, The Art of Acting.
Okay. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received.
Relax.
It's a good one. Finish this sentence. One thing everyone needs to do to find pleasure in the pursuit and the art of the pursuit is
stay present. See the present around you. Everyone is usually way ahead or trying to be ahead or looking backwards. And the more you can stay aware and stay present in your surroundings, whether you're in a meeting and taking in everything that's going on around you and this person that you're sitting across, or if you're on a mountaintop, it makes sense, or you're stuck in traffic. There are things to become aware of and just remaining present. And if you're frustrated or sad, anyway.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Define yourself in one word.
Stupid. Learning.
Okay, learning. Okay. Learning. And one role that you want in the next 10 years.
Macbeth.
Okay, there we go. Douglas, I can't thank you enough. This was great. It was great talking to you a little bit about both worlds. In our business talks, we really kind of talked business, and it's great, watching you and your path and your success in the Gilded Age, and having worked with you and your family many, many years ago now. But, Think Community, as you know, I'm a business coach, and I work with people who are successful and stuck and get them unstuck. And what I love about this show is that I can bring on a guest that can give wisdom to get you unstuck, which is part of my through line. And there's a lot that you shared today, Douglas, but one thing I'm going to extract that I think is really a stuck point that I see in people is finding pleasure in the pursuit. Everything is going so fast today. The younger generations have so many text strings going on. There's so much FOMO. There's so many things that you can feel like you're getting left behind. And when you talk about being present, it's kind of old school now, right? Because the younger generations, I think, have to work even harder to be present and enjoy the pursuit. But it's something that I think it should always be top of mind. So Think Community, if there's many, many things that Douglas shared today, that's just one that I'm extracting that I hope can get you unstuck as well. Douglas, I can't thank you enough.
Just remember, they're pursuing it, but I think there's a misunderstanding about it being linear. Like if I don't move quicker, I'm going to be left behind. But if you get away from the linear and recognize that it's multidimensional and it's much more like a field you're going across, and this person's going that way and doesn't matter, and there's no path. You make your own path. It's not linear. You're not being left behind. Just let the camera go up and get a bird's eye view of where you are. It's not straightforward or straight back.
I love it. Tell everybody when season 2 and where they can find the Gilded Age.
Gilded Age is on HBO. We're shooting season 2, but I don't know when it's going to air. I'm going to guess in the next maybe 6-8 months from now.
Okay.
But that's up to HBO. And as your readers might know, or readers who are listening, HBO Max looks like they're going to fold into HBO. There's a big change going on this week. I don't know what's going to happen.
All right.
But and come see our new project in Ferndale. It's on the corner of Ferndale and Pleasant Ridge, and we're rehabilitating a bunch of old buildings and building 100 new apartments. And there's going to be a lot of important Detroit muralists that I'm going to employ to beautify the area.
Very cool. Very good.
Called
Very good.
Ridge.
Oh, good, good. We live in Huntington Woods, so I'll check it out. Yeah. Think Community, thank you. Douglas, I appreciate your time, your wisdom, your thoughts, your energy today. Thank you very much. This was great. Think Community, thanks so much, everybody. Thanks, Douglas.
Thanks.